Talking Sense viewers, you are not going to want to miss this session. I am here with Shaunt Voskanian, the VP of Sales for Datadog, newly IPO'd. Don't know why you're still working. Do you just love the gig?
I do love the gig. There's also a lockout period, but yes.
Okay.
I do love the gig.
But you're doing well.
Doing well.
Love the gig.
Love the gig.
Best friends with Tom Brady.
Love Tom Brady.
Okay.
Yes, would do anything for him. Tom, if you're out there, please find me.
All right, so why don't we cover a little bit about what you've done to build Datadog?
Sure.
Because you've been instrumental in building their sales motion, which I'm sure is a big part of why you had such a successful IPO. And I know all of our viewers want to hear about, and then we can talk about Tom Brady.
Sure. Yeah, so I'd say small part of the success. I've been there, been at Datadog for 2 years, just about 2 years. And before I got there, I would say that we were in the midst of a shift. So I joined a little bit after my boss, our CRO, Dan Fougere, joined, who came over from Medallia. And really it was at the time that Dan joined the company where Datadog was making the shift from more of an inbound sales motion to an outbound. And I was really brought on board to try to accelerate that and to try to figure out, as we're making that move, what is the right go-to-market strategy? What are some of the things that we need to adjust, keep the same, to make sure that we're, fulfilling our customers and creating as much of a frictionless process as possible for them.
So why, I guess just backing up, how does one know, what, I've maxed out this inbound model?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it has a lot to do with growth and how fast you're growing, the point that you get to from a revenue perspective and, the recognition that to sustain that, despite having really strong net dollar retention and really great plans for expanding the product portfolio, it just takes a lot. And it gets to the point where even though we're lucky and are still lucky to have a lot of companies raising their hands and finding us and saying, hey, we want to learn more about what you do, to continue with accelerated growth, I think you do the numbers and you recognize that you're going to have to go out there and be proactive in finding the customers that are a good fit for your product, and find a way to actually just speed up that entire process.
And so is that how you delineate? Is you would say an inbound motion is more kind of opportunity capture?
Yeah, I'd say
and outbound is more opportunity create?
Yeah, the way I think about it is, inbound is very reactive. And, when you're in an inbound sales motion, usually what you're trying to really optimize is where you're spending your time, and qualification becomes really important. Mm-hmm. And that's still important in an outbound sales motion, but in the outbound motion, we're actually spending a lot more time trying to educate our team on what does the right company actually look and feel like that has the the fit, but also the propensity to buy Datadog and to do it right now, and to really spend our time figuring out what is the messaging that's going to resonate with those companies, and to go out there and to deliver it.
So SDRs are very near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I have the same. SDRs are BFD.
Mm-hmm.
But it's challenging. It's probably the most challenging segment
for us
to manage and optimize.
Yeah, I'd say 100% agree with that. Yeah.
So what are the things that when you look at that organization, you wrestle with, the dials you think about?
So I'll start by saying those who have worked with me or for me know that this is definitely something that's top of mind and has been for a long time, that I consistently struggle with. By the way, I'm the type of person who struggles a lot with things. Like, I'm not.
You're just a struggler.
I'm a struggler. I have my feelings and opinions of things, but then I'm a classic second guesser. If I go to dinner, I want what my wife ordered, and even simple things like that I wrestle with. So I'm a wrestler, but SDR in particular has been challenging, and I think frankly it's challenging in every organization.
Now, do you think that it's just are you a believer?
Oh, I think there's an incredible amount of value in sales development. In fact, I think it's one of the most valuable parts of the business, because in that organization, I think about it as like dual benefit, right? You get productivity, but you also get this amazing pipeline of talent that when you're a high growth company, doubling every year, you really it's critical, especially when, our product, while it probably isn't as challenging to understand and to learn and to kind of, become an expert in as it might feel like it is, there's still work to be done there. And it's been proven for us internally that if you can, bring in a sales development rep who's been doing that job for a year into the AU role, they're like, their ramp period is going to be like significantly shortened compared to hiring someone from the outside, and that's very valuable to the business.
So what are your ratios, BDR to AE?
So it fluctuates, because our SDR organization, this is part of the other challenges I'll come back to, but our SDR team supports our enterprise sales team, but also our commercial and mid-market sellers. And so we strive for a slightly different ratio depending on if they're supporting an enterprise or commercial rep, but we're operating on average around a 3-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
But coming back to the struggle for a second, I would say the biggest thing is, we're wrestling with, if you think about it purely from a productivity perspective, I'm a big believer in specialization. And, my mantra from the kind of beginning when I started was SDRs should be focused on specializing in booking meetings, right? I felt really strongly about that because it's very, very straightforward. It's repeatable. It's the top of the funnel activity.
So not qualifying, not shadowing AEs.
Right, exactly. So no, I actually, I'll clarify that. The collaboration with AEs, absolutely. But in terms of their customer interaction.
No, I said shadowing.
Yes, they will collaborate. They will shadow 100%. We want them to get the experience and the exposure to learn from an AE. But in terms of their interaction with a customer, historically, I've been in the mind frame of end it at, book a meeting, because at that point, you're turning into a machine, right? Like you're cranking out those first meetings, but also, if you compare an SDR 3 months into the role, and we hire, SDRs typically straight out of school, their ability to execute on a discovery call or in a first meeting compared to an AE who's been doing it for some period of time, we're likely going to have much better conversions if the AE is driving it.
Sure.
But the flip side of it is these SDRs are going to be your AEs, right? In a year, right? Sometimes even sooner in a high growth company like Datadog.
Yeah. And the way you learn is bombing a meeting.
Exactly. And so if we basically remove that entirely, and we've seen this, that level of readiness and preparation for the AE role definitely takes a little bit of a hit. And so that's part of what we struggle with. It's how far do we draw that line between where the SDR takes over and takes the lead from a customer perspective, and then when the AE helps. And so I think that's one of those things that everyone struggles with. But we're constantly tinkering with it.
So do you know how much pipeline your SDRs are supposed to create based on those meetings?
So we look at, we track pipeline creation. They're metriced on it, but we haven't, because we've changed our model a few times over the course of the last couple of years. If you look at technically how much pipe is being created, it'll fluctuate. Right now, we're at about 25% of our pipeline being created from SDR. Okay. What's interesting is it's hard to benchmark, are we getting better at that or getting worse at that? Because we recently moved to a model where we went from pure collaboration, as in like the SDR is working on the same exact account the AE is working on, and maybe not at the exact same time, but they're really completely sharing those accounts. And when they do that, it's hard to decipher who really actually created the valuable activity that generated that meeting and created that opportunity. We moved from that to they're still working on the same accounts, but the SDR is really focused on a subset. And so we're isolating the work that the SDR is doing more now. And so the pipeline that they're contributing, we've actually seen maybe dip a little bit more. But our theory is that because they're working in more of a siloed environment, ultimately together we're creating more pipeline. And I think that's the ultimate goal. So, but time will tell.
Now, how does your marketing team interact with SDRs? Because this is another one of those age-old, is it in marketing? Is it in sales? Ours were in sales, now they're in marketing. Yeah.
And so for us, it's very much sales-owned. But obviously, we work well with marketing and closely with marketing. And our marketing team is phenomenal at doing a couple of things, driving interest in events. and driving downloads of our product in trials. And so, those are really our sweet spot for inbound leads, and those get filtered in a few different ways.
Is that a different role then to respond to those?
So it's slightly, it depends on how we kind of score the lead. But typically, if it's a downloaded trial and there is an AE that actually owns the account, we'll route that directly to an AE. If it is of an unowned account that we just missed, is not in Salesforce for some reason, which happens all the time, I'm sure you guys know about.
Yeah. That's our claim to fame.
Right.
Is finding those.
We will direct those to an SDR, and then the SDR will take an initial call, and then we'll pass it usually to an AE. And then if it's an event lead, typically the SDR it's being routed to an SDR, and again, is it owned, is it unowned, depending on we'll make the determination on where it's routed, but the SDR is typically following up and trying to schedule meetings there.
Gotcha. So, culture.
Yep.
One of the things I think I've found over time, working at a few companies, but also seeing companies through their different ages, right? Is there's sort of a different cultural vibe from LinkedIn stalking you and LinkedIn stalking Datadog for this. Feels like just an awesome sales culture.
Well, thank you.
It really comes through.
I hope our people feel that.
Yeah, well, it looks like it.
Yeah. I think we have a good culture. I feel like we do. I would say that it's evolving like anything else. As you grow, it's amazing. When I started 2 years ago, we were in an office where it felt like a nice office, but we were overgrowing it. 3 months later, we moved into this brand new office that seemed like, I don't even know how we're ever going to fill it, on Franklin Street in Post Office Square. And we're already busting from the seams in that office. So, I would say that, in a growth company like this, sometimes like the culture creates itself and it evolves very, very quickly. But I would say the things that we are focused on is making sure that, again, everything we do is with the mindset of how are we supporting our customers the best? How are we creating the best experience for them? But then internally, we're trying to make sure that everyone feels like they're supported, they have the resources that they need.
So give me some examples.
Yeah, of which part?
Just, you talked about focusing on the customer and their experience. So any specifics on how you've done that?
From a customer perspective, I think it's beginning to end. Like we're trying to create as much of a frictionless buying process for them as possible. And so everything starts with understanding the frame of mind the customer is in. And our sales motion is really based off of that. So we have a lot of customers that even if we proactively reach out to them and get the dialogue going, ultimately they might go and say, hey, all right, we're really interested, but we want to just download a trial of your product, and we want to let our teams just kind of run with it a bit. And we're comfortable with that. Of course, we want to stay engaged and understand, how are they actually thinking about the product and how would they evaluate it. So it's sort of more the
choose your own adventure, value as you go.
Of course, absolutely. And oftentimes, when we have a customer that is looking for more support and resources, like we're making sure that we're there to build out the process and provide the resource to support them on that journey as well. But then internally, I think a lot of the things that we do is ensure that people are celebrated, right? When our reps are doing things well, that we recognize those. Even simple things, which, by the way, Mark, who is obviously your head of sales, and I go way back, and it's a trick I learned from the company we worked at like 15 years ago is at the end of the month, we recognize our top performers. I hand out a bottle of champagne to anyone who has had a really great month, either from a revenue perspective or from a pipeline building perspective. But we also, we want to celebrate the little wins, right, throughout the course of the month as well. And we want to make sure that, again, if people are doing things exceptionally well, that those things are highlighted and that we give them the opportunity to share what they're doing really well with the other people on the team. And so
how does one become a top dog?
Become a top dog? There's a lot of different ways to become a top dog. For me, it's like the things that I really care about and I recognize.
No, I want the belt.
The actual belt. So the top dog belt is reserved for top SDR. Awesome. That's top SDR of the month. That was not actually my idea, so I can't take credit for it. That was our.
You should.
Okay. Sorry, Cam. I take full credit for That was my director of the sales development org at the time, and you got to be the top SDR of the month, and so that's a combination of booking the most meetings, that then are high quality and convert to the most opportunities, and that's how you get that. Bottle of champagne, that's a combination of either have the most activity, create the most pipeline, or close the most deals. It's really, really simple stuff, obviously, but I think again, recognition is important, right?
Public.
Right.
Make it fun.
Make it fun, and celebrate the people that are doing great things.
So, you self-admittedly are a little neurotic.
Yeah, big time.
Which I love. Yeah. That's great. I want to hear a colossal fuck up, and not like a neurotic thing that you think was a screw up, like something
like
that,
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
work related or
yeah,
personal
yeah.
or work.
Well, you can take that in any direction you want.
So I'm sure there are a lot. There's one work related one that just automatically comes to mind, but it's like the most cringeworthy thing ever.
We're going there.
But it's also very old. It's like early in my career, and like I was basically an AE at the time, many years ago, and I was on a demo, and I was I can't remember the customer. I really like. I blocked out a lot about this experience, and I can't believe I'm sharing this. But I was on a demo, and I had an SE on the demo, and we were remote. So I was in the office, and I think the SE was maybe in New York or something like that. And so we were talking on chat, and this was.
See where this is going.
Oh
Keep
God,
going.
it was an incredibly difficult, purposely difficult customer, prospect, right? And so every single thing that we were excited to show them in the demo was met with like, exactly, but like purposefully. And this is not a defense of this royal embarrassing F up at all. And it's something that, again, I cringe when I think about. But I ended up getting so frustrated that at one point, my SC was actually, I'm saying Slack, but it definitely wasn't Slack. I don't know if we were using GChat.
Some sort of IM tool.
Was using some sort of IM tool.
Screen sharing on.
Screen sharing on, some sort of IM tool. And again, this was a long time ago, so I really don't know what we were using. But said, what do you want me to do here? This person is being incredibly difficult. And I ended up messaging him back saying, don't worry, I'll handle this. This person is a real, and I used a word that I should not have used. That was not very pleasant. And I
real turd.
Completely forgot that we were on a WebEx or whatever we were using, and they saw exactly what I said. And I didn't realize it until about maybe 60 seconds later. They ended up sending a message to me separately, like via email or something, like, hey, and it wasn't the person who I was directing it to, but the other person, like, hey, so we just saw what you wrote to the other person, and so, yeah, we're going to have to end this call right now. And
Did you get the deal?
Absolutely not. No. And I probably, like...
You're like, close.
And now that you get, like, the neuroses part of me, like, you can imagine how many, like, apology emails and calls and everything that followed. But, man, that was cringeworthy. I mean, my mouth dropped, and I just can't... I never forget. Like, there's probably a million other things that I've just forgotten about. I'll never forget that.
We all have those.
Oh, God, I hope so.
The worst.
Because I think it was just me.
So...
Okay.
But that was a good one.
Okay.
That was a really good one.
Yeah.
So, Shaunt, I loved hearing about the BDR struggles because they're real, but it's important.
Yep.
And I loved hearing about dialing in your outbound motion. And I really appreciate you sharing that story of your embarrassing moment. I think it's awesome.
Okay.
I have one final really important question.
Okay.
Why should Tom Brady be your best friend?
All right.
Three words.
This is an important one.
Yeah.
3 words?
Yeah, keep it tight.
I love you. Tom, I love you. Is that?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. You got it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.